Claude Fable 5 costs 8 times more per output token than Grok 4.5. And yet it still beat Grok 4.5 in 2 out of 4 score tests. So that gap, $6 versus $50 per million output tokens, is the tension this whole comparison is built on. Both models dropped recently, and people are picking sides without real data. So I ran Grok 4.5 versus Claude Fable 5 across 5 real tests: speed, context, creative writing, pricing, and factual accuracy, all sourced from artificial analysis, GoML, and community benchmarks. No vendor money, no spin. The cheaper model actually holds up on quality better than you'd expect, and the more expensive one has a hallucination problem nobody's really talking about. So stick around, because the conditional verdict at the end might flip what you're planning to spend. All right, so this comparison is for anyone actually paying API bills and trying to figure out where each dollar goes. If you're running high volume workflows, the wrong pick costs you real money every single month. And if you're doing creative or document heavy work, the wrong pick costs you quality. And honestly, both of those hurt. Test 1, real-time reasoning speed and latency. When a model is slow, you feel it, your app times out, your user bounces, and if you're chaining multiple calls in an agent workflow, a slow time to first token doesn't just annoy you, it multiplies across every single step. Okay, so I pulled the numbers from artificial analysis and GoML, and here's what we got. Grok 4.5 hit 53 tokens per second with a 13.8 second time to first token in high reasoning mode, while Claude Fable 5 hit 63.4 tokens per second but took 109 seconds to first token in max effort mode. And what surprised me is that's not really the same test. The hard truth is these two aren't running the same configuration. Grok 4.5 is in high reasoning mode, Claude Fable 5 is in max effort mode. And those are different settings doing different amounts of upfront thinking, so the 109 second gap is kind of misleading because Claude Fable 5 is probably doing way more work before it even starts typing. Honestly, I was expecting a clear speed winner, and what actually happened is neither model takes it cleanly because the configurations are too different to call. So this one's a tie, and the scoreboard sits at Grok 4.50, Claude Fable 5.0 with 1 tied. Test 2, long context document processing. Run out of context window mid-task and the model just starts forgetting things, it loses the thread, and you get an answer that's confidently wrong about something it literally read earlier, which means you're rerunning the job and paying twice. So I checked the specs and the internal pilot data, and the gap here is pretty simple. Claude Fable 5 has a 1 million token context window. Grok 4.5 has 500,000, and that's double. What's interesting is Grok 4.5 completed a reconstruction task using only 29% of its window, which tells me it's pretty efficient with what it has. I was expecting this to be a closer call given how efficient Grok 4.5 is with tokens, but double the window is double the window. And Claude Fable 5 takes this 1 if you're regularly pushing past 200,000 tokens, putting us at Grok 4.50, Claude Fable 5.1 with 1 tied. Test 3, creative writing quality and stylistic control. When a model can't hold a consistent voice, your copy sounds robotic, your story falls flat, you end up rewriting half of what it gave you, and for anyone running a content workflow at scale, that rewrite time is a real dollar cost per piece. So what I found here is pretty interesting. Claude Fable 5 got rated 4 out of 5 by Noren and beat GPT-5. 6 sold in every genre they tested, while Grok 4.5 has a chatbot arena creative writing LO of 1440, which is decent, but reviewers are saying its roleplay quality has actually declined from Grok 4.3. So take that LO number with a grain of salt, since it's community voted. Honestly, I thought Grok 4.5's LO score would hold up better here, but roleplay declining, hallucinations up, and Claude Fable 5 beating every genre it was tested against tells a pretty clear story. So Claude Fable 5 wins creative writing, and that puts the score at Grok 4.50. Claude Fable 5.2, 1 tied. Test 4, API pricing and cost efficiency. You build a workflow, it works great in testing, you scale it up, and your monthly bill is suddenly way higher than you budgeted for because output tokens especially add up fast. And if you're not watching that number, it'll sneak up on you. So I pulled the published API rates, and the gap is kind of wild. Grok 4.5 is $2 per million input tokens and $6 per million output. Claude Fable 5 is $10 input and $50 output, which works out to 5 times cheaper on input and 8.3 times cheaper on output for Grok 4.5. And both models have caching discounts, but Claude Fable 5's base price is still way higher. Now, before you just call it for Grok 4.5 on price, Claude Fable 5 offers a 90% caching discount versus Grok 4.5's 75%. So if your workflow is heavily cached, the gap does shrink a bit, but you're starting from a much higher base price, and you'd need a ton of cache hits to actually close that 8 times output gap. I was expecting the caching math to make this closer, but even with a better discount rate, Claude Fable 5 can't overcome that base price difference at any realistic cache hit ratio. So Grok 4.5 wins pricing, and that moves the scoreboard to Grok 4.51, Claude Fable 5.2, 1 tied. Test 5, factual accuracy and hallucination rates. A model that hallucinates confidently is genuinely dangerous. in a production workflow. Because you don't catch it, it ships, and now you've got wrong information in a report or a customer-facing answer that can cost you credibility or actual money to fix downstream. Okay, so what I found here is a real problem, but only on one side. Community reports say Grok 4.5's hallucination rate more than doubled compared to Grok 4.3 with an independent knowledge benchmark, catching it giving confident wrong answers more often. And what surprised me is Claude Fable 5 has zero published hallucination data. So we genuinely can't compare them. Honestly, I was expecting at least one model to have clean published accuracy data, and neither really does in a comparable way. Grok 4.5 has a known problem. Claude Fable 5 has no data at all. So this one's a tie by default, and the final scoreboard lands at Grok 4.51, Claude Fable 5.2, 2 tied. So here's where Grok 4.5 clearly wins. 5 times cheaper on input, 8.3 times cheaper on output. And if you're running high volume API calls, that's a massive budget difference every single month. Plus, in high reasoning mode, it gets to a first token in 13.8 seconds, which is way faster for latency sensitive workflows. And its 500,000 context window is still competitive for most real jobs. And here's where Claude Fable 5 clearly wins. 1 million token context window, double what Grok 4.5 has. So if you're regularly processing massive documents, it just doesn't run out of room. And on creative writing, it was rated 4 out of 5 and beat GPT-5. 6 Sol in every genre tested, which puts it in a genuinely different tier for polished output. Okay, so I was expecting cost to be the only real differentiator here. But Claude Fable 5 actually earned its wins on context and creative quality. So the rule is pretty simple. If you need to keep costs low and latency tight, Grok 4.5 is the pick, because 8 times cheaper on output is a number that doesn't lie. But if you're processing huge documents or output quality actually matters to the end product, Claude Fable 5 is worth the premium.